Hi everyone, you reached Chronicles of the Gray Hair Diva, and this is your first time, welcome. If not, welcome back. For all you out there, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so that every time I upload a video, you will be notified. Hit the like button, chat with me in the comments, and when I get an opportunity, I will chat back. And share my video with your friends and family so that they can come to my channel and get to know me also. I'm here today with a video on a very sensitive topic. If you've been following the Nicki Minaj story with her husband Kenneth Petty, and an accuser of something that happened, when she was 15 and he was 16, or either was vice versa. So we could say back in high school, something that happened back in high school and the way it is playing out in current day. So I'm going to try to choose my words carefully, use my words carefully, because it is a very sensitive subject. So Jennifer Hough, if I'm pronouncing her name correctly, was on the talk show today, The Real, to talk about her current lawsuit with Nicki Minaj and her husband Kenneth Petty. The reason why she is in this lawsuit with them and how it all came about. So we start off the story, and I'm going to be peeking at my notes because I want to make sure that I say things correctly, and these are her words on The Real today, not me making it up, not me digging, finding out information. She was actually on The Real today, and these are her words. So Jennifer Hough said, back when she was either 15 or 16, I may be mixing up. I know one of them was 15 and the other was 16. So for speaking purposes, I say back when she was 15, she said she was walking to school, at the bus stop or whatever the case may be, and she saw Kenneth. So in my mind, and she didn't give high level detail, that's telling me that they knew each other. Not necessarily that they was in a relationship together. Maybe they went to the same high school. She didn't give all of those details, but she knew him. He wasn't a perfect stranger to her. So she knew him. So she said she's, pretty much about her day, about to go to school, and she looks up and she sees him, okay? She sees Kenneth. And, he comes over to her, and I'm going to shorten the story and paraphrase a little bit. He comes over to her, and the next thing you know, she said she felt something in her back, okay? She assumed, she said, these are her words, she assumed it was a gun. So she felt something in her back, and he kind of walked us somewhere, and it was sketchy because, like I said, I didn't hear high level details from her, but I guess he walked her to a building, walked her up with this stain in her back that she's thinking is a gun. And she said the whole time that she was walking and this was happening, she was pleading pretty much like, what's going on, what's happening, trying to figure out everything that was going on in that particular moment. So he's walking her to this place, to this building. She feels something in her back that she believes is a gun. They get up to this room or this home or whatever. There's a bed, and she's like, what do you want from me? Do you want me to just chill, hang out? She's trying to still trying to figure out her life and what's going on. I want to say this, if we're going to interact in the comments, I'm not here to judge either side because this is so sensitive. I'm here to tell the story, and then after I finish with this story, I'm going to give my opinion. This is just my opinion on this situation. Not saying I'm right. It's going to be my opinion. So she's saying that, she's in this room. He takes off his clothes. He kind of takes off her clothes. Don't know where this object was that, she felt in her back when they was first coming to this space where everything happened. But pretty much he did, and I'm not going to say it here, what happened, okay? So that exchange happened between them. I'm saying this exchange, the word exchange, because I don't want to use certain words, on YouTube, but you understand, what he was accused of, okay? So, she's saying that he, took advantage of her to make it a little lighter, so I'm not using that actual word. Okay, so she said, that happened, and she said after it happened, of course, she was devastated, she was crying, or whatever the case may be. She claimed that, he looked in the mirror and he beat on his chest, saying he was the man. She said something about tissue. He went to smoke a cigarette. She thought she was going to try to burn up the room or whatever. She saw some other thing that might have had bleach or whatever in this, but pretty much she tells other pieces to say, she threw something at him, she got away. When she got away, she said she, I guess, ran to the school, okay? So she goes to the school and, I don't know if it was a security guard or whatever, pretty much asked her, like, where were you, Jennifer, and what happened? She explained, where she was and what happened. Police got involved. They took her back to the place, said, where did this happen at? She goes back and says where the situation happened at. He apparently was still there because they bring him out in handcuffs and, they arrested him. So we're at that piece of the story where he gets arrested. There was apparently some intimidation, some different stories that went on when he did get arrested. And part of the stories that went on at that time, this is back when they was teenagers, when this thing actually happened. His family was saying that, what Jennifer was saying was not true because his family said that they were in a relationship. She of course said that they were not in a relationship. So, at the time, I guess she was not being raised by her mother. She was being raised by maybe an older family member. So they kind of didn't want, to get involved. And I will say this, whether it is a situation that Jennifer went through or it's a situation where someone has got molested in a family, a lot of families do not know how to navigate and handle those situations. And naively, they want it to just go away. They almost want to pretend it didn't happen because it's easier for them to pretend it didn't happen rather than deal with it and deal with the aftermath of it. So she said, she didn't know how to handle it. The family members that, she was involved with at the time, that were living with her, raising her, didn't really know how to deal with it. So, and I'm going to shorten up the story a little bit, but the prosecutors and everyone else was pretty much trying to tell her to just make this go away, take back your statement, and say like this did not happen. So we go to the courtroom, and if you really want to see the whole interview, you should go watch it on the view. It was a good interview, but it was extremely sad, right? So she said, she goes to the courtroom the day of his court sentencing or whatever, and she's in the courtroom and she blurts out, I want to take it back. I want to say that this didn't happen. And many people may say, okay, well, what's going on? Which one is it? Like, you accuse this man of XYZ, and then back when you was young, you're in this courtroom and you blurt out, you want to take it back, that it didn't happen. I'm going to speed up the story a little bit because she did say that, okay? But I'll speed up the story a little bit and say that he ended up eventually not doing, I guess, like sort of like a plea deal or something like that, not for actual rape, I'll say the words, I guess, but for I'm gonna say it was attempted. He pleaded a plea deal for attempted rape or assault, one of those. Okay, so that's what he did a plea deal for. He served time, but but once you have that, something like that on your record for the rest of your life, and I think I don't know, it's so sensitive, but I'm thinking, maybe there needs to be some discussion around that also. But for the rest of your life, everywhere you move to or everything you do, you have to register as a sex offender, okay? And so I believe, there's a lot of details around that, like you can't be around kids, you can't be around schools. Like, it's so much that goes into, having to register as a sex offender, wherever you go for the rest of your life. So let's continue on with the story. So that happened. Like I said, she did, and she admits this in her own interview, like recant her story in the courtroom at that time, but I guess, they proceeded on, and she did. I'll say this: the day that it happened, back when they were teenagers, and she ran to the school and told the school what happened, they did take her to the hospital also. So I don't know anything about the hospital kit and all of that stuff, but I'm thinking maybe there was something there, because he eventually pleaded to something lesser, and did serve time. So we carry on with the story, and that was back what happened when they were younger. And apparently he abided, when I say he, Kenneth Petty, abided by all of the rules of registering as a sex offender, his whole time after this has happened. So we move up, and I guess he gets into a relationship with Nicki Minaj. The way I'm understanding the way that she told the story, when he got into a relationship with her, Nicki Minaj, he didn't register as this sex offender, I guess, somewhere that he went. This is I was trying to listen intently, but this is what I believe I heard. He didn't register. And so I guess that was kind of upsetting to Jennifer Hough, that he was no longer registering, and she's how could this be? Why is he not registering anymore? He needs to register as a sex offender because he did this to me XYZ years ago. I think that is what sparked the current theory of everything that is going on. That to me brings up some situations in and of itself. He did his time, and he's been registering, and I don't know who should be monitoring his continuing of registering as a sex offender. I don't think it should be the victims that have to man this or should be manning this. I think there should be mechanisms put in place to make sure that a person, even outside of Kenneth Petty, that make sure that people who are supposed to registers. But this is the way I took the story as she was saying it. I just want to look at my notes for a minute, right? But as I'm looking at my notes, I will say, to go back to when it happened when they was younger, she was pleading for him to stop. She was crying. It was a lot that went on. So she told the school, she told the police, he came out in handcuffs, and they went to, the hospital. Okay, so so she did say that people were trying to force her to drop the charges back then, and that's why she ended up blurting it out. And you gotta imagine, I will add this to the story, first of all, as a teenager that suffers a trauma, and then you have no good support with you, and people are trying to pressure you to recant your story, I do understand how that can happen. So I wasn't trying to say that she said that and that she wasn't telling the truth. So I do totally understand how you can be pressured as a teenager, because sometimes adults can still get pressured. So I understand how as a teenager, she was pressured, and then she just ended up blurting this out in court, because she probably just wanted the whole thing to go away herself also, because she also stated, after the situation in current day, it changed her life. And I will say this, that anybody that has been violated sexually, it does change the course of your life, even if you try your best not to have it do as such, okay? You start to question yourself. What did I do wrong? Why me? Could I have stopped it? I should have stopped it. I should have ran. I should have screamed. I should have let him. She believed it was a gun in her back. I should have let, the person just shoot me or stab me or kill me, versus letting them, violate me the way they did. So you start to question yourself so much, and it's so disruptive to your life and who you are, that it does change the course of everything that you go through. And she was talking about that, and like I said, it was just a very heart-wrenching, sad interview today on The View. So yeah, he did 4 years. So at first they was trying to charge him with first degree rape, but then he did 4 years for attempted rape. And she said, she was just blaming herself, the whole time. Her lawyer, Tyrone Blackburn, if I'm saying his name correctly, was by her side at this particular interview. So now we gotta kind of go current day, and current day is, like I said, I believe the whole spin and fury started with the fact that she got involved somehow when he did not register as a sex offender, and it happened around the time when he was with Nicki Minaj, right? So since he didn't register, so I guess that started this theory where Nicki Minaj, she's alleging, and him started harassing her family, I guess, because all of this came out in the public eye, that Nicki was marrying this sex offender, and he did XYZ to someone when they was a teenager, and in addition to that, he spent time in jail for this situation. And so it just sparked up this whole thing about who Nicki Minaj was with and who she was about to marry. So she claims as a result of that, and Jennifer Hough, that she started getting harassed, she started receiving threats, she started getting information to tell people coming to her on behalf. She claimed it was on behalf of Nicki Minaj and Kenneth Petty. They wrote statements out for her to recant her story, and they wanted her to sign it. And she said there was an offer of $20,000 and all of this money, so that if she just took back her story. She said because she kept saying no, the harassment got worse. The phone calls got worse. They was approaching her children. She said she moved several times, and she moved away from her children because she did not want it to impact them. So, and she also said, let me go back. When it happened back when she was a teenager originally, this happened in New York City. So she left the city at that time. So you imagine, as a child, this tragic thing happens to you. Now you have to uproot and leave your family, and now here you are in present day, and you're kind of like running and moving because you're getting all these threats, and they're also trying to like attack your family. So she's saying that, she's saying that she actually spoke to Nicki Minaj herself in March of 2020, okay? And she said when she spoke to Nicki Minaj, she said, look, woman to woman, this did happen to me. So she's claiming that Nicki called her and pretty much wanted her to help her and her family, meaning help me. Nicki saying, help me, help Kenneth, just take back this story, help us out, and I will compensate you for your whatever you do for us, okay? And pretty much because Jennifer said she said no, and she said to Nicki, woman to woman, that this happened to me. So she said she never spoke to her again after that. And then she said, in addition to that, the $20,000 that other people that were sent to Jennifer by Nicki and Kenneth, according to Jennifer, when they tried to offer the $20,000 and she wouldn't take it, she said that they later told her that this $20,000 they're going to use to have her head. So she said she's scared, she's nervous. I'm paraphrasing. She's scared, she's nervous, and pretty much that's why she's been moving around. And the only reason why she's speaking out now, because she's tired of being afraid, she's tired of being nervous, she's tired of running, and she just needs to let this be out in the open and be known. Let me just look. They said she said they went to some of her family members also, and I guess tried to pay off some of her family members to say that she was lying or whatever the case may be. They really did not get into that. And the reason why Jennifer's stating that she knows that the people that came to her with the $20,000 and offer her, this money so that she can write a statement and just make this whole thing go away. She said she knows that they're connected to Nicki Minaj and Kenneth Petty because when she received the phone call from Nicki herself, that same person texted her and said, listen, you're going to receive a call from this number and it will be Nicki. So that's pretty much the gist of what she said on the reel today. Like I said, she was crying. She seemed sincere. She seemed authentic. And this whole thing is a sad, hot, tragic mess. My heart breaks for both sides, and I'm going to tell you why. It's somewhat for both sides. If the threats and all of that is true, that's a whole nother problem in and of itself. But my heart breaks for Jennifer, one, because he did agree to a plea deal. So something happened that day way back when they was 15 and 16, okay? And I do know that as a result of whatever happened that day, she's been through a lot of pain. She's been through a lot of turmoil, and she's currently going through it now with the threats and everything else that is going on. On their side of it, Nicki Minaj and Kenneth Petty, he did his time. People can change, and it's like, and you know, this lifetime of registering as a sex offender, I'm not in disagreement with it, but I'm wondering if in some cases, at some point, some people may no longer be, have to register. So I say that to say what? Because there are cases where you have it depends on the state. And this is not in this particular case, so don't be beating me up in the comments, follow me. But you have, in some states, a 16-year-old being with an 18-year-old, and that's just a 2-year difference. And I'm talking about two consenting people, a 16-year-old that consents and an 18-year-old that consents. That could be considered like a sexual offense. And then that 18-year-old who was in a true relationship with the 16-year-old, now for the rest of their life has to register as a sex offender if someone in that family of the 16-year-old complained that, this 18-year-old was with my 16-year-old and it shouldn't have been. And like I said, it all depends on the state laws. So in that particular case, that 18-year-old now has to register for the rest of their life as a sex offender. I mean, there are so many laws and rules that I think need to be relooked at. But to get back to this particular story and situation, if it is true that they are asking, and Nicki Minaj and Kenneth Petty, asking Jennifer Hough to, recant her statement, and they're threatening her, that's not right. That's actually tragic, right? And the lawsuit that her lawyer Tyrone Blackburn said that they are having right now is in regards to the threats and everything that's going on with those particular threats, because that, threats, actually they said harassment. I want to say he said, harassment, distress. That's what the lawsuit is about. Her distress, the harassment, and things like that. I say this, I hope there is a resolution to this, because Jennifer Hough says that she's just moving around and she's not even with her family or around her family because she doesn't want anything to happen to her daughters. No one should have to live like this. It's almost like she's living a double nightmare. She has the nightmare of what happened to her when she was a teenager, and now she has this nightmare that she's going through right now with this lawsuit and just running around and living in fear. She said she came on the reel because she wanted to end in terms of the fear and the threats and the harassment. I don't know if maybe the lawsuit can be dropped if, they all come together and just have some type of agreement. I don't know. This is sad. This is rough. It is absolutely tragic. Let me know if you watched the interview on the reel today. Put your comments in the chat and let me know how you feel about this situation. As I stated, it is just overall, it's a whole tragedy. But let me be clear. If what she is saying is true, okay, because I don't know the truth. If what she is saying is true about this harassment, about them, threatening her, that is totally not right and it's unacceptable. And my heart goes out to Jennifer Hough and her family. May there be some peace and resolution in this situation. Guys, chat with me in the comments. Let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you in the next video.